Imagine there was a way you could get an extra 20% off already incredible prices at Kildare Village. Well, there is. Just sign up to Privilege, our rewards program, and you'll be invited to our exclusive private sale, where you can enjoy an additional 20% off at participating Kildare Village brands between 29th of March and April 7th. T's and C's apply. Sign up at kildarevillage.com and find something extraordinary every day.
Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for Thursday, March 28th. It's opening day, Sweet 16. We got NBA as well, and Teddy Covers is on the podcast. Teddy, welcome in. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Busy time of year. Great time of year to be a sports bettor, though. Wouldn't you say? Do you enjoy being a sports bettor on a day like today? Of
course you do, dude. It's opening day. Although, let me be honest. You know, when it comes to MLB, I went back 10 years, and I found I don't win the first 2 weeks of the season ever. You know, there was one season I was moderately profitable over the first 2 weeks. And it doesn't matter how much work I've done, how much preseason prep I've done. So this year I flat out decided I'm not making a bet for the first 2 weeks of the MLB season. I'm going to come in the day the NBA season ends, the regular season ends is April 10th. And I'm going to start baseball April 11th. And that, for me, I think is going to be a good thing. So I'm not maybe quite as excited about people that are going nuts on opening day today. But my experience has been you don't want to go nuts on opening day. You don't want to go nuts the first week of the MLB season. Obviously, it's a 162-game grind, a season that could well last into November. So taking it easy early and seeing how things – and, of course, I'm a streak rider in baseball. So there are obviously no streaks when it comes to opening day. So we'll get there. No question. When it's a Sweet 16 night, we got to have full NBA card. It's a great time to be a sports bettor, but personally, I'm not going nuts just because it's opening day today.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. MLB is a fun sport to bet. It's a good sport to bet, but at the same time, there's a lot going on, and you got to use the numbers to your advantage. So that's it's a good thing that you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at, and overall this year to date, you're up pretty good. Since January 1st, 56.1%, 92 and 72, and up 38.82 units on the new scale that Sportsmemo is using. So overall, great job this year, Teddy.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've really done, this is something that experience has helped me with. You know, obviously I moved to Vegas in 98. I've been out here a long time, doing this full time for, more than 20 years now. And one thing that I've learned is you have to manage your life, meaning, the really tough time. November can be brutal. All right, so what have I done? When I'm handicapping college football and I'm handicapping NFL and I'm handicapping NBA, I'm not trying to put a fourth sport in the mix. So I don't start with college hoops in early November. I give it a few weeks, let the season progress, wait till I have time to breathe, wait till college football calms down a little bit, and then you can start focusing on college hoops. It's a similar story at this time of year where you have NBA, you still have another week of college hoops or another 2 weeks of college hoops, and then baseball comes into play. I don't want to try to put out half-baked plays for clients when I'm not able to spend the proper amount of time digesting a game and thinking about it. And, my process, it's not doing anybody any good to put out stuff. It doesn't do me any favors, doesn't do my clients any favors. So, this is something I've learned from experience is you cannot try to do everything at the same time. So I'm not going to try to do everything at the same time. And we'll get into baseball. And obviously I looked at opening day. Of course you look at opening day. It's opening day, man. If I was going to get involved, we'll talk about a couple games that I had leans towards. I would have made 3 plays on today's card in baseball. I'd have bet the Reds. I'd have bet the Pirates against the Reds. I like Tyon in this game. I'd have bet the Phillies over. And frankly, I think if you bet the Phillies over every game, you're going to do fairly well, at least early on. And I take the Rays as dogs to the Astros today. So, we've looked at the card. I'm actually putting any money on those 3 plays. I am not. They are just opinions, not wagers.
All right, Teddy. Good stuff, and makes a lot of sense as far as what you've learned and, concentrating on what you do well. Guys, we do have a special coupon code for the podcast, COVERS, COVERS, 199 at checkout. We'll take $126 off a Teddy Covers 30-day all-access pass. You'll get his college basketball rest of the season, NBA, any plays he releases in any sport, and then baseball when he starts that. Covers $199 for the 30-day all-access. You can use that coupon code for myself, Drew Martin, as well. But, Teddy, let's talk about MLB here. We got a night game, 7:10 Eastern first pitch. Boston, Seattle, Sale versus Gonzalez. Looks like minus 200 favorites on the road. That is the Red Sox tonight with minus 210 to minus 220, depending where you're shopping. How you looking to bet the Red Sox versus the Mariners, man?
I don't like the Red Sox bullpen right now. And again, when we talk about my philosophy for MLB, starting pitchers by mid-April are priced correctly. Chris Sale's not going to come into this game incorrectly priced. He's priced where he should be. The markets focus so much on the starting pitching. And it's all about, so you can see a team that's minus $2 one day and they're dogs the next day, just based on starting pitching matchups. Same lineup, same bullpen, same everything. The starting pitching, in my mind, is something that is either overpriced or correctly priced in the market. So I rarely look to make plays, almost never look to make plays based on starting pitching matchups. Obviously, this is one that favors the Red Sox. What I am looking to make bets on is lineups that are hitting or not hitting, and bullpens that are getting outs and not getting outs. And coming into the season, I have Boston as a team that I've got a lot of concerns about that bullpen coming into the campaign. And here's a Mariners team. They already have 2 regular season games under their belt. They won them both. Neither one was pretty. Neither one was easy. But they won them both in Japan. And the bullpen held up pretty well. So in terms of laying $2 with the Red Sox tonight, no way am I going to lay that with Boston. The only way I can look at this is Seattle plus, because I don't trust the Red Sox bullpen to close out games.
On from the mishap there, let's talk a little NBA, man. Let's talk
Sure.
LA Clippers, Milwaukee Bucks. Looks like 234 the total, minus 9 or minus 9.5 for Milwaukee. What are you thinking here?
Well, it's a really interesting game because normally your thought process here with Milwaukee's coming off a huge win over Houston. A game that they had circled. And you say, wow, this may be the letdown spot for the Bucks. And boy, look at this Clippers team. Man, under the radar, they've been monsters. They've won, 6 in a row, 9 out of 10. Major moneymakers for their supporters coming off another blowout win, a win that was much bigger than the final score would indicate at Minnesota. They won by 11. They were up 30 for most of that contest. But after the game, Doc Rivers pulled out the champagne. And that's because the Clips clinched a playoff spot. And this is a team that was, lined at 33 wins coming into the season. They traded away their leading scorer at the deadline. And obviously sitting at 45-30 right now. They've exceeded all expectations. They celebrated in a big way following their last win. Tonight has the potential to be a real no-show for the Clips. Even though, in theory, it's supposed to be a flat spot for the Bucks, I do not trust the LA Clippers to bring their A game this evening. Anytime you hear about champagne coming out, and oh, by the way, you're playing a game 2 nights later, you see it in baseball all the time when you're talking about September when teams clinch, and then the next game tends to be a bet against. That may well be the case for the LA Clippers in Milwaukee this evening.
Another interesting game here. We got the Orlando Magic, Detroit Pistons, Teddy. 206 being the total, and it looks like the Pistons laying 3.5 at home.
Yeah, and boy, you want to talk about a game with legitimate implications. Let's give Orlando some credit. They were down, were they 18 or 20 or in the first half against Miami the other night. The Heat were retiring Chris Bosh's jersey, and what did Orlando do? Exactly what they've been doing of late. They shut down Miami on the defensive end in the second half of that ballgame and rallied from behind to win straight up. That is now 6 straight wins for the Magic, 5-1 against the number. The only time they didn't cover was this big chalk against Memphis, and they're doing it with defense. Their defense has been, honestly, you watch Orlando on a game-in, game-out basis, their defense has been as good as anybody of late. Pistons defense was pretty good in the fourth quarter the other night against Denver. Final game of a long, unsuccessful road trip. Pistons went 1-4 on the trip. But fourth quarter against the Nuggets, the final game of the trip, they're down by margin. And I'll tell you what, watching that game, the Pistons brought everything they had and made it very interesting and cut the lead to 3. Of course, they didn't find a way to win it. and now cover the number. And actually, despite winning only one game on the road trip, they covered 3-point spreads in those 5 games. They've been real good at home. They won their last 9 home games. But in this spot against a Magic team that's playing defense, you do worry about Detroit and their ability to win by margin in this one. Although one thing the Pistons have been able to do, they've been able to beat Orlando fairly consistently on this floor. Magic's last win in Detroit came back in 2016.
Teddy, let's talk one more NBA here. Denver, Houston, 217, 216.5 being the total. Looks like the Rockets laying 5.5 at home.
Yeah, and I just talked about the Pistons in the cover but no win against Denver in that game. Remember, the Nuggets, they haven't played their best ball in recent weeks. And really Denver, from one quarter to the next, sometimes you don't know what kind of Nuggets team you'll be seeing. And they have great depth. I mean, they really do, which isn't something that matters all that much in the postseason necessarily. But in the regular season, that's supposed to matter a lot. But the inconsistency for Denver has really been driving Mike Malone crazy of late. They've not been in particularly good form. Certainly from a point spread perspective, Denver's been a little bit dicey of late. But all that being said, even though the Pistons made that charge the other night, the Nuggets still found a way to win. They were still good enough to be up by 20 in that contest. And they matched fairly well. They matched up fairly well with Houston already. Last time these two teams met, Nuggets 136, Rockets 122. No surprise that tonight's game, too, ends up being a relatively high-scoring affair between a couple of teams that don't mind pushing the pace at all and have the potential to light it up on the offensive end of the court.
Teddy, you open to talking a little NCAA?
Of course we're going to talk NCAA, because it's the Thursday of Sweet 16. If you didn't have me talking NCAA, I'd be insulted.
All right. We'll get the page up here. And, guys, remember the 30-day all-access special for the podcast. We got Covers, COVERS, 199 at checkout for 30-day all-access for just $199. That's $126 off the retail price at sportsmemo.com. That is 30-day all-access. Coupon code COVERS199. And also MLB opening day, early bird special, MLB 300 at checkout for full season MLB betting service with the handicapper of your choice. MLB 300 at checkout for $300 off the retail price. And that gets you all the way through the World Series. No extra charges later, no charges for the playoffs, anything like that. MLB 300 as the coupon code for $300 off. Tonight's slate, we got Florida State Gonzaga, 148 being the total. The Zags -8 now, Teddy. So taking a little bit of money here, the favorite. You agree with that move?
Well, the favorites have done very, very well in this round in recent seasons. I got them, 12-2-1 against the spread in the Sweet 16 over the last 5 years. So fading the number 1 seeds has been an exercise in futility in many ways. And, I'll say this for the Zags, man. Boy, they've looked good in their first 2 tournament games. There were a lot of concerns about, Gonzaga hasn't faced anyone in a couple of months, and people remembering, obviously the West Coast Conference was not elite this season, really are, and a little bit of a down year for St. Mary's. And then people remember the Zags getting blown out by St. Mary's in the WCC final, getting 2 teams into the big dance as a result. But there's certainly been no lingering effects in that regard for the Zags. And when it comes to offensive efficiency, they've been dynamite. Of course, they're in revenge for a Sweet 16 matchup last year against these same Florida State Seminoles, a game in which Florida State's length bothered Gonzaga. Their athleticism bothered Gonzaga. And they won that game by 15. And the Zags, 33% shooting in that contest. And look, Gonzaga's an offensive-minded foe. All right? The Zags are going to win games based on their incredible half-court execution on the offensive end and their strong shooting percentages. When you face a team like Florida State that, A, has the depth to wear you down, B, has the length to give you trouble, C, has the athleticism to force Gonzaga into tough shots on the offensive end, I'm not necessarily in a rush to lay this price with the Zags, despite their impressive 2-0 last weekend to open the tournament.
Teddy, what about Purdue, Tennessee? This is a competitively lined matchup, 147 being the total, Tennessee -2.
Yeah, and and this is one of those games where I've gone back and forth on. And when I go back and forth on a game, really, I'm not going to end up playing it. I don't trust Rick Barnes. The markets don't trust Rick Barnes. Tennessee certainly, I think, has more talent than Purdue. And Matt Painter hasn't done real well in these roles. Boilermakers have been a team that's capable of getting to the Sweet 16 and not capable of going any further than that. It's been pretty consistent in that regard for Purdue in the Painter era. So, I mean, the lean has to be towards Tennessee because I think Tennessee has better players, but I do not trust Rick Barnes in big games. I didn't trust him at Texas in big games. I didn't trust him last week in the tournament in big games. And look what happened for Tennessee. I mean, what happened to Tennessee in the game, was that Maryland? Is exactly what happens to Tennessee. They're up 20, they fell asleep. Next thing you know, the game's in overtime. And unable to stem their opponent's runs. That concerns me here because Purdue can go on runs. So I do think Tennessee's a better squad. I'm not going to lay the price for them here. And again, it's a modest price. If they win, they're supposed to cover, although they are taking the money. I will say this much. If you like Tennessee, bet them sooner rather than later. There are still 1.5s out there right now as I look at the Sportsmemo live odds screen. I do not think those 1.5s will still be there by tip-off.
And Teddy, the next game up, Texas Tech, Michigan, this is the toughest one I feel to pick a winner. And it shows in the line as far as Michigan competitively lined here, -1.5, low total. These two teams, man, this is going to be a dogfight. Good defensive teams, 125 being the total. Your alma mater here, laying 1.5. You looking to bet it?
In my mind, it's an impossible game. I mean, it really is an impossible game. I would think about the under. The unders have been bet down. And, all it takes is someone to be up by 4 in the final minutes. You get 20 points in the last minute, and boy, all of a sudden that 125 doesn't look so low anymore. Bet on versus bet on. Chris Beard, 6-2 in the big dance. Straight up. That includes his time at Arkansas Little Rock. John Bayline, 20-7 straight up in the big dance since 2009. Michigan's 5th trip to the Sweet 16 in 7 years. They're used to this. Texas Tech, not so much. So, in that regard, advantage Michigan. Now, we're talking about two teams that get the job done defensively. The Wolverines finished number 2 in the country in scoring defense this season. Texas Tech, number 4. They were second nationally in field goal percentage defense. Michigan right there as well. No easy baskets for either one of these teams. So you say, who can create on the offensive end? And that might be where the Wolverines have the edge. When you look at Simpson at the point for Michigan, Xavierson, he's been really good. He's top 10 in the country in assists. Michigan ranks among the top, I think they're number 1 in the country. Fewest turnovers allowed for the season, less than 9 per game. And the Wolverines' offense comes and goes in the half court, no question, even with Simpson's ability to penetrate. But, the wings with Poole and Matthews, these guys can hit shots. The big men, Brazikis had a terrible weekend last week, and Michigan was still able to survive and advance. When he scored 5 points against Florida, he's certainly capable of a better effort than what we saw last weekend. All that being said, I mean, Texas Tech has been a consistently undervalued commodity this year. They're every bit as tough defensively as Michigan. And when we look at this Texas Tech team, when we look at Chris Beard, we might say, yeah, this is Michigan like 10 years ago. Where here's a guy that's building his resume and building his career, and a team that's loaded with quality talent, and they play defense. Should be a fun game to watch, but you're absolutely right. If you're saying what game's most likely to go into overtime tonight, yeah, this one. Even more than Purdue, Tennessee. I mean, this game has every bit of potential to be a one-possession game in the final minute. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see that come down. And when you have a situation like that and the point spread is where it is, you're not going to see me getting involved in the game. I do expect a very tight contest. I do expect a low-scoring game. 1st to 60 probably wins, but with the fouling and 3-pointers in that final minute, I'm reluctant to take it under the total.
Good breakdown, Teddy. Jam-packed podcast here covering 3 sports. We got 1 game left on tonight's slate. The 12-seed Oregon Ducks versus the 1 seed, Virginia Cavaliers laying 8.5 now, bumped up a half a point from the opener. Another low total here, 120.5 now. This has been bumped up about almost 3 points now across the board as far as the total goes. So Oregon, Virginia, any interest in betting this one, Teddy?
Well, it's another one. First to 60 wins. First to 50 might win this one.
Yeah.
I always have an interest, but I did not get to the betting window here. It's very hard for me to step in front of I tried stepping in front of the Ducks against Wisconsin. I thought that would be I thought it was a bad matchup for Oregon. And boy, I couldn't have been more wrong. I'm like, Oregon doesn't face teams like Wisconsin in the Pac-12. And they don't. It didn't matter. What's 12 straight wins now? Is it 12 for the Ducks? They covered the spread in all of them. They're monsters. And you look at each of their last 3 wins. It's basically been the same game. In the Pac-12 championship against Washington, in the first round against Wisconsin, the second round against Irvine. Oregon plays competitively for a half. In the second half, their defense has absolutely shut everybody down. Wisconsin, Irvine, Washington, the highest of those 3, they got to 54 against the Ducks. Oregon's 68, 72, 73. And it's all been these second half adjustments that Altman's been making that is just giving teams fits. And here's a Virginia team. Let's call it what it is. There are still questions, even after getting out of the first weekend. There's still questions about Virginia. I cashed a ticket with them against Oklahoma, and I expected Virginia to win that game by 25. I thought they were going to kill them. And there you are sweating the last possession. Are they going to win by 10 or 12 or 9 or it's a Virginia team. I think it's in their head a little bit right now. We know what Virginia's capable of doing. They're capable of shutting anybody down. They've had huge second halves all year where that pack line defense has taken everything away. All that being said, Oregon's, Peyton Pritchard's playing as well as anybody right now at the point for Oregon. Virginia's the team with the pressure. Virginia's the team with the expectations. Virginia's the team that hasn't lived up to them in recent tourneys. Virginia's the team with the bullseye on their back. And Oregon's season-long stats do not correlate with how they're playing right now. So, all that... I guess I lean Ducks, but I don't lean them anywhere near strong enough to bet them. I'll tell you that. We know what Virginia is capable, and if Virginia brings their A game, they win this by 20. They flat out will. And we didn't see Virginia's A game in either game last weekend. We haven't seen it in the tournament since like 2016, but they're capable of it. Slightest to lean to the Ducks, but again, I'm not going to get involved betting wise. I do think that Oregon's full season power rating is not in any way indicative of where they are right now, and that means obviously there's been a ton of residual value on the Ducks in recent weeks. Maybe there still is based on this number.
Yeah, some great matchups. With the chalk winning pretty much, Oregon, I guess, being the one singled out one, it leads for really interesting, intriguing matchups at this point in the tournament. That is one good thing with not many upsets here into the Sweet 16. But Teddy, you made great breakdowns across all 3 sports, man. Anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
Whew, no, man. I got to sit down and watch some baseball. I got to learn this stuff. That's the thing with MLB. The more you watch, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you win.
Well said, Mr. Covers. Check out Teddy Covers' betting service at sportsmemo.com. We got the coupon code for the podcast, COVERS199. That's COVERS 199 at checkout for his 30-day all-access pass for just $199. That's $126 off the retail price. And also, guys, it's opening day, the early bird special for any handicapper on sportsmemo.com for $300 off using the coupon code MLB 300 at checkout. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Best of luck with your bets. We will be back tomorrow with Robbie Vino talking some more Major League Baseball.